Hey guys, welcome to My Little Paintbrush. Today we get to paint Under the Sea, one of our favorite mermaid paintings, so I'm glad you're here with us. We're going to be using a couple of brushes. We have a flat brush, a small flat, and a detail or line brush. Use what works for you, but I do suggest you get maybe even a bigger flat brush like this for water, because we're going to be moving quickly and we're wanting all the colors to blend. Okay, and then I also have a jar or two of water handy. You can use a cup, right? Or a napkin as well. We need that. And then I have all of my paint laid out so I can easily get to them. The white is separated. That's very important because we don't want to contaminate it all at once. So I've separated mine into actually 4 piles because with this water, I'm going to be using a lot of white. So I suggest you do that as well. Okay, let's get started. Remember, you can pause or rewind this as we go. It's the beauty of a tutorial. So go at your pace. You don't have to go as fast or as slow as me. All right. Okay, I'm gonna now take my flat brush, put it in some water, loosen up the bristles. We always start with a little water when we're using acrylic paint. And we're gonna actually warm up by painting carefully around our mermaid. So let's take our flat brush and I'm going to mix some turquoise and blue together, just like this. Okay, and imagine a lighter shade around Ariel, our mermaid. We are going to do a lighter shade. So let's get a little bit of white and mix it in there too, just like that. Okay. All right, now that I have a color that I'm happy with, I'm gonna start up here and we're just gonna come about 1 inch away from our mermaid and outline her. You can use a smaller brush if it's easier, but I get up really close and just fill the space. Just gently right up next to her. And the reason we're doing this is because we are going to put the water in around, but this way you don't have to worry about getting up close. It's already done, right? So I'm gonna brush away just so I don't get any hard lines. Whenever I'm doing a silhouette, I'll usually paint up close with a color that's very similar to what we'll be using, and that just makes it easier later when I'm doing all the rest. Now I'm gonna do the tail. This is also gonna kind of wake up our creative brains, right? We have to really focus for a minute. And it's okay if you paint inside of her just a little bit. It's not a big deal. We're just doing our best here. And just remember, you're gonna be using black and you can cover up anything you might not like, okay? All right, so we're gonna paint up here too, just under the arm. And I could use a smaller brush and that works too. We're gonna get around the little fingers. There we go. And again, I'm not too worried about painting inside of her a little bit. It's okay. No one's gonna notice these little details. There we go. And now we're gonna paint through the hair. The reason I do this though is I don't wanna lose the silhouette on accident as I'm putting in all of the water. So this way I don't have to worry about painting up or over it. And I'll show you how in a minute. Okay, so I'm gonna paint around, and again, I'm just brushing out away. You don't want any clumps of paint. You wanna make sure you brush those out. Let's go around the hair. There we go. And we're gonna do the same here, just above the hair. And you're painting this whatever color you feel your water is gonna be in the center. And mine is just that lighter turquoise. I'm gonna go here, just around the face, very carefully. And you're gonna be painting pretty close to your silhouette when you're doing the water. So keep that in mind. You will be painting up close. This is just preventing you from having to paint all the way up next to her. Okay, so there we go. She's all filled in, just like that. Okay, now let's rinse our brush. Just like this, make sure it's all clean. And this is where you can keep using this smaller flat or you can switch over. But I'm gonna start with our darkest shade. We're gonna move from the left bottom corner up because our mermaid is reaching to the light, right? To this top right corner. So we're going to take a little bit of white and mix it with our blue. Because we wanna keep this bottom corner dark. Right? This is kind of in the shadows. And remember, as we are painting, we're going to be moving in a smile shape all the way up. Okay? So I'm going to start with my smile here, down in this bottom corner. See that smile? See how I'm brushing in a smile shape as I go up. Constantly moving back and forth in a smile because she is coming up and the water's wrapping around her. Okay? So this is where it gets a little tricky because you want your brush to have that blue on it, but then we want some white too, so you get different shades of blue as you go. So I put a little white on the corner, just like this, and we're gonna brush side to side with that white facing up towards the light. So load it like this to where you have white on the up one corner and blue on the other, and we're brushing up to the light, and you can see all the different shades of blue happening, and that's what we want. Okay, now right about here, just under that tail, I'm now going to put turquoise on one corner instead of white. See how I have blue on one side and turquoise on the other? And I'm going to brush side to side with that turquoise, and we're going to go back into the blue and come back out of the blue. That's how we blend our colors. You go down into the blue and back up. And we don't want to over blend or you will lose any of that shading that you've worked hard to get. Okay, now we're getting up to the tail, which you've already outlined. So we're going to keep smiling as we go here. Keep our water wrapping just like this, side to side, filling in any space. Now if you want more turquoise in the water, just put it on your brush like this. Brush in the water. See that? So you can always go back and add more if you want to change it a little bit. That works just fine, but keep that brush moving in a smile motion, okay? All right, so before we start the center, we're gonna come here and brush in our shadow because Ariel, our mermaid, is in the center of our canvas. See that? And we want the dark to be wrapping and wrapping, pulling her in so the focus goes right to her. So I'm going to be brushing this direction as I go. So before you do the middle, go ahead and shade the sides. Keep your brush moving in a smile motion. And we're just using our dark blue. It's in the shadows. You can mix in a little turquoise if you want to, but keep it dark. Just like this. Okay. And I don't use a lot of white on the corners here as I'm brushing up. If you see any white, that's my canvas showing, because I want this to be in the shadows. As I reach up, but as I get close to that edge, I stop. Okay, just like this. This comes up here because she's reaching to the light. You see how I brushed in all of my corners just like that? I'm going to be moving quickly because I don't want this to dry on me. Okay, so now that we've shaded our corners, we're going to focus the light in the center. I'm going to put turquoise here and mix it with some blue and a little white because I want to lighten it up just a little bit as we go up. Okay, so now we're We're going to start brushing up, filling in that water. You're going to kind of match this color that you've already painted around Ariel. Now I have my blue here and I have white on one corner. Keep that white showing. It's very important because that white is what's going to give you the different shades of color. Now as you brush towards your mermaid, you're going to come up close, but now you don't have to worry about completely covering because you've already gone around her. See that? So you can brush up next to her, but not worry too much about the details because it's already done. Okay. Now remember, you're going to wrap with a smile as you brush up. Now this is where I like to use my bigger flat brush. And you'll see why. Because when you are creating this water, you want to move fast and fill a lot of space. Just like that. See that? So I'm going to keep moving in my smile. And you have all that shading on the sides of your canvas. Let it be. You can brush into it, but not all the way over it. Because we want to keep the center of our canvas light. Brushing up into the dark. Just like that. And load a little white on your brush with your watercolor. Keep on smiling all the way up. Go into your mermaid. But don't cover her completely. Same here. Keep curving into a smile. So I'm going to brush over just a little bit here, just to put that color in there. But I'm not covering her. Keep moving in a smile. Keep moving up. I'm just smiling all the way up there, curving my brush. Awesome. Now the more highlights you put in your water, the more light and different shades of blue, the better your water will look. So you always want to add as much white to the corner of your brush as you can as you go. Now as I get towards the top, okay, I'm going to really lighten up my blue. Because she's reaching to the light, right? So now we really want to lighten it up. Don't want to lose that arm or the hand. So I'm being very gentle as I get up close to her. There we go. All the way up close. Okay, and now as I get to the top, I'm getting my lighter blue to fill my top. And now we're just going to do all white right here at the top. You really want it lighter. Doing that top corner really light, okay? And before you rinse your brush and get ready to do the light up there, I want you to just make sure we have enough of that light in our water. So I'm coming down and I'm smiling as I go here with my brush, right? All the way down. Gently, you can paint gently over your mermaid if you want to. Just make sure you don't lose her. But focus all that light down the center. Just like that. And that's awesome. You can add more to the edges if you want to, if you need it darker still. But as long as you're focusing all that light on the center, that's perfect. Okay, and I want it just a little darker down here in this corner, so I'm adding one more layer of blue at the very bottom. very bottom corner. Just like that. Okay, and we're gonna add more layers on here. It's perfectly okay, just like that. So I'm gonna rinse my brush now. Make sure it's really clean because we're gonna be using yellow. So make sure all that blue's out or you're gonna have green light up there at the top. Okay, now I'm gonna put some yellow on the corner and white on the other. And I'm facing that yellow up because that's at the very, very tip of my my water, and that's where she's reaching, right? Very, very tip up there. And once I get the water or the yellow on, I'm gonna load my brush with white. Just brush up next to it and down into the blue. Let it kind of fade into your blue. Just like that. You can add more light later as you want. Okay, but I like to kind of fade it into my blue, back up. And that way she's reaching for it. Looking awesome. Okay, let's let that dry and let's outline our mermaid. So grab a detail brush and we're gonna add water to our black. We want it to be really inky. Really, really inky. Just like that. Okay, and what I find with silhouettes is if I outline first, just like if I used a marker or anything, if I outline first, I get much better results. So I'm going to outline her. And then I will fill her in. There we go. And she's reaching. So we're going to find her little fingers, her arm, outline. Dainty, dainty hand reaching. Fill it in as you go if you want, or you can come back and fill it in after you get it all outlined. Okay. Awesome. Okay, let's outline this all the way around. Takes a little bit of time and concentration, so take your time. You don't have to rush through it. Follow through with the tail here. Comes to a point. And do our other side. Comes to a point. Let's do all the way around. We're curving it. Just like that. And then the hair curls on the ends. So you can add those curls if you want to. It's just a slight curve of your brush. You can curl each one. One more here. This one kind of faces the other way, so I didn't curl it. You can if you want. Okay, all right, and then we have one more little arm here coming down. All the way around. Reaching. There we go. And straight up. There we go. I'll fill it in. Now we're just going to fill in her silhouette. And you can do this with a detail brush, or you can take a flat brush and do it. Oh, got some black in there. But I'm going to take a flat brush because it's a little bit easier to fill in that space. All the way around there. See how it fills it in faster? I like to use a small flat to fill in the space instead of a detail brush. It just makes it kind of clumpy and it takes a while. So I like to use a flat brush to fill it in. Perfect. All the way down. And there you have it. You filled in your silhouette. Awesome. Just make sure I have her all covered. She has some lips here. You can kind of come through and define some things if you want to. Have to be careful though, because it can quickly get out of hand and get big really fast. Come straight across there. Okay, I got it. And I'm gonna rinse my brush, let that dry for just a minute. All right, now let's do some bubbles. Bubbles are so fun and easy once you know how to do them. So we're gonna mix some turquoise and blue together and a little bit of white. Okay, so you get a nice light shade of blue. I'm gonna mix those together. Okay, and now you're going to create circles wherever you want these bubbles to be. You can do big bubbles or little ones, but I'm just going to outline my circles. Got one there, one here. You can add more and more or less, totally up to you. But the idea is to do different sizes and not to create a pattern. You want to have bubbles at different places on the painting, but I focus the bigger ones under my mermaid and the smaller ones above her. So here's one here, smaller one. You can just keep adding until you love it. And do some littler ones here. Let's see. And then for some of the slightly bigger ones, I just use the back of my brush. So I want to make sure I have a couple on here that I really want. Make sure my bigger ones are on here. And then when I do my smaller ones, I flip my brush around and I use the back of it and I put it in my dark blue. Okay, because these are now in my lighter shade in the water, so I can just use the dark blue and then I'll show you how you add the highlighting on it. Just putting these darker shades around her tail, just like that. We're just doing dots right now. We have some up here by her tail. And then another one coming over just a little bit. Perfect. And one more close to the tail, right? And then the other ones are white because they get higher, so they get lighter. But I am going to use my light blue now, right here, to do the dots for my smaller bubbles in the darker shade of my water. See that? So if you're working in the lighter shade of water, you can use the dark blue. If you're working in the darker shade of water, you use the lighter blue. Just like that. And you can put some of these lighter ones in your light blue if you want. They're just not going to show up as much. But all these different shades of bubbles are what add to those little details in your painting. Those fun details. Okay, just like that. Now this is how we're going to do bubbles. Well, first let's do our white ones. So I'm going to now dip the very tip of my brush here, the back of it, in white. And we're going to do our white bubbles, okay? And they're just kind of, they're coming up and away from her. The closer we get to the light, right, the lighter her bubbles are as she's reaching. Okay, and some of them are on her hand, see that? That's why I don't worry too much about some of the little details of her silhouette, because you can also cover anything you don't like with a bubble. One of my favorite things. I'm going to come down here. Just add them around her. I got a little bit just above her head right there. And remember, the harder you press, the bigger your bubble's going to be. The lighter you press, the smaller it will be. So right here we have some on her hand and under. This one's actually makes some of them blue, right? Just to change it up a little bit. Okay, now here we're just going to keep putting a couple of these bubbles around her. And coming down here. Keep them kind of close as we get towards the bottom of her. And they get thicker too, so you're going to get a lot more. And I see there's got one more little bubble right here. I'm going to outline it. Fill that space. See that? You can add them. If you have space you need to fill, go for it. Let's do this side too. I'm just kind of filling it in. I'm just stamping away. Wherever I feel I want to add or fill in any space. So I have all this space over here, so we can just put some little bubbles over to fill it in. Because she has a lot of them coming up. She is swimming up quickly, so we just have all these little bubbles. You just probably can't add enough, you know. You just keep filling in that space. It's looking so awesome. Okay, so now that I have a lot of bubbles happening here, let's see if I have all the bubbles I want. Kind of look at it and see if there's space you want to fill. Okay. Bless me, sorry. Something blew in and got me. Okay, now let's do our bubbles. I'm going to show you how to fill these in. So you're going to take your dark blue, and this is going to act as the shadow for your bubble. Okay, now you've already created the circles, so all you're going to do with the blue is put a smile along the bottom part of each bubble. So I'm going to just do a smile shape. So you don't have to take a lot of time because it's just a reflection and it doesn't have to be perfect. We're just adding in a little smile in those bubbles, the bigger ones, right? So you can see how I'm just adding my dark blue on the bottom as if it's putting a little shadow there on it for me. All of them too. And yes, you can change the color of the blue if you don't want to use the dark blue. You can change the color. The dark blue is just the one that I used. Okay, but you use what works for you. Now once I get the dark blue on there, now I've got to put a light blue or white on top, because that's the light on the top of our bubble. Just like that. Kind of a fun, easy way to do quick bubbles in our water. Just putting the light now on top. I think I want mine a little lighter, so I'm going to come and put more white on the top of my bubbles. Just like that. There we go. And you can just brush it in there on the top of your bubbles, giving it a reflection. Make sure you get all your bubbles though. That's what helps give it a little bit of dimension too. Get a little more white on this one. A little more over here. Did I get all of them? I think I did. Make sure I got all of those bubbles. Oop. Got that one. Make sure you find all your bubbles and give them those different highlights. Just have the top light and the bottom dark. Just like that. Perfect. This one just needs more white. I like a little more white on top of my bubbles. And curve it out. You want to make sure you try and keep your bubbles as round as you can. But keep in mind that they don't have to be perfectly round. They're just floating up there, right? Okay. Let's see, I'm going to have this bubble right here stand out a little more. Awesome. And there you go. We've done some simple bubbles. Okay, let's take our detail brush now and do some highlighting in our water. So I'm going to rinse it really good and put some white on my brush. It's my detail brush. Put a little white on it. And first, let's just highlight our mermaid. So I'm going to add just a little bit of light along the top of the hair, just like that. Okay, and you can do more. I just did a couple of strands, just like that. Makes it look like that light is hitting. And the same on the tail right there, coming down, and a little bit on each fin, just like that. Just to add a little bit of light to our painting. Right, and you could add more. I'm going to stop right there. And now this is where you can take your detail brush and add in some squiggly highlights in your water. Anywhere you want to make it look like the water is moving and you have light touching it. This separates any of your ripples, right? And you already have some highlights in your water from when you came down with your brush. This is just a little bit extra. Just a little extra highlight. A little there. And remember to curve it. This, you can also give the illusion that it's curved a little more than it is. Just like that. I'm going to do both sides. Curving my brush stroke. You can come all the way up to her. All right. I love it. I don't want to do too much because I don't want to take away from all the other little details you've already done. So I'll do a little bit there and maybe one more there. Okay, I think I want a little more here in the light. There we go. Perfect. So you can keep adding light as much as you want to her. I'm gonna stop there. I hope you guys had lots of fun painting this mermaid with me. Find your favorite color and be sure to sign your name. Find a little spot. Because as artists, we gotta be proud of our work and all that we did, right? So we're gonna find a little spot to sign our name so we can tell everyone that we did it. And if you had fun painting with me, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and come back for more later, okay? We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.